The following contest is a second-round match in the Kings of Consoles tournament to determine the greatest game in the history of the Nintendo Entertainment System. 2 games enter, only one can advance. Introducing first, the 54th seed, a 1986 platformer from Capcom, Ghosts and Goblins. And its opponent, the 11th seed, a 1990 role-playing game from Square, Final Fantasy. Your ringside judges are Pat Dooley and Ricky Giraldo. There's nothing left to say but round 2, fight! Hello and welcome to episode 47 of Kings of Consoles. This is the podcast where we're trying to find the best game for each home video game console by means of giant tournaments. You are catching us in our 47th week. We're almost halfway through the NES tournament. This is a second round match between the number 11 overall seed Final Fantasy and number 54 Ghosts and Goblins. I'm Pat Dooley.
And I'm Ricky Giraldo.
And if this is your first time joining us, we took IGN's list of the 100 best games for the Nintendo Entertainment System, set them up in a ranked bracket, sort of along the lines of March Madness, which we were just talking before we recorded is happening soon, but it just kind of feels like it came out of nowhere. But yeah, so we basically went 1 to 100, and we've knocked out 46 of them so far, and another game's going home today. We always start off by talking about the underdog, which in this case is the number 54 seed Ghosts and Goblins, which is a 1986 platformer from Capcom, who we actually just saw 17 weeks ago when it beat The Goonies 2 in episode number 30. Has your opinion changed at all since we last played this?
No, this game is hard.
Uh-huh.
This game, it's
Yeah,
I'm
it's
relentless,
punishing.
Man. It's so punishing.
It's really it felt like it personally hated me. Like I had done something to it to offend it. And we'll get into how far we made it later, but like the exact same problems I had with it the first time, the exact same places I would die over and over last time. Even with the knowledge of, hindsight from 17 weeks ago, knowing that this was going to happen would still hurt me. And you get 2 hits. One knocks your clothes off. The second one kills you, no matter how far you are. And then limited continues. And then back you go to the very beginning to do it all again.
Yep. No password system, nothing. Just gonna start the game all over.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Funny enough, they are making a remake of this, and it's coming out like for the newer consoles. So that's gonna. I wonder if that's gonna be as hard as this one, or if they calmed it down a little.
The main thing that I imagine we'll see, and I admittedly this is the first time hearing about it, so you heard it here first, folks. Well, at least I heard it here first. But I can't imagine they're gonna keep the you die, you go back to the beginning of the game element to it. Like that just doesn't seem like something that happens in modern games, unless it's something that's intended to be hard, like Getting Over It with Bennett Foddy or Super Meat Boy, or one of those games that's like designed to be super hard.
So the game is called Ghost and Goblin Resurrection. The remake of this game, and it launches for the Nintendo Switch on the 25th of February.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so it's kind of crazy that we had to play this as a game.
We should have pushed this one back 3 weeks so that it would come out on the 25th. But
this was sneaked up on us.
Yep. Hindsight. I really should do better research about like looking stuff up, because we do keep like stumbling into stuff like that.
Right.
Like our Battletoads episode coming out the same week that How Did This Get Played did theirs. That was just wild. I mean, there's really not much to say. My notes about it are almost entirely profanities. Um, it's really really hard, and we've played so many better platformers. We played so many better platformers from Capcom that it's just like this is objectively a better game than Goonies 2, and it should have advanced. But it's of the games we've played through nearly a year of doing the show. This is still one of the most frustrating hours that I've had.
And this is the thing, like it's not a bad game at all.
No.
It's good. It's awesome. The Arthur's great. The character's great.
Mm-hmm.
The platform, or not the platforming, but the game itself runs fine. It's just, it's super hard. It's one of those games where it was designed to take your money in an arcade.
That's exactly right.
And it's just, it's not.
It's
not
just
forgiving.
And 35 years later, the fact that they are coming out with a remake in 3 weeks, like that's a testament to how good this is. Like this game has staying power. Like it has a long cultural tale. I remember playing it. They had a Ghosts and Goblins cabinet at the MBS airport in Freeland, Michigan, which was always where, because my dad worked at Dow Chemical, which has their corporate headquarters in Midland, Michigan, but he frequently had to go to like Texas or whatever to, work on projects outside the country, or not outside the country, outside the area. So he would always go to the MBS airport because they had a connection to Detroit, which then, Detroit goes anywhere. So we would always like pre 9/11, you could go like right up to the gate to wait for somebody to get off their flight. And there was an arcade in the MBS airport. It's a gift shop now, but it used to be an arcade, and we would just go in there and play Ghosts and Goblins or Street Fighter or WWF WrestleFest until Dad's flight landed and we'd go home. So like I have fond memories of the arcade version of this game, but boy, oh boy, the NES port is just so hard and so frustrating.
Yeah, it really is. But it's a classic. It does belong to be in the second round.
100%.
But will it move on?
Well, not if Final Fantasy has anything to say about it. Final Fantasy is our number 11 seed. It is a 1990 role-playing game from Square. The 4 light warriors go on a quest to defeat the elemental fiends, villains that have darkened the world's 4 elemental orbs, threatening the world. This game, I don't know if you've heard about Final Fantasy. It's this little indie thing, except that it has spawned 15 main series sequels. Sequels is being used loosely because they, other than having a handful of character names in common and place names and species names, they're really not in the same series at all. But they all have that, Final Fantasy name to them. It's like, American Horror Story or something like that, where every season it's a new adventure. But, I remember her from last year.
Basically, the only thing that Final Fantasy, they all link is like chocobos.
Mm-hmm. There's usually somebody named Sid.
There's always someone named Sid. And Biggs.
Yeah.
And the summonings and all that.
Mm-hmm.
There's certain Final Fantasy things that are very Final Fantasy, but the stories are always different. And the timelines. Like, the only way they will connect if it says like Final Fantasy X or Final Fantasy X-2.
Right.
So
some of the sequels have sequels that are, in the same universe, but they're not.
Right.
Like Final Fantasy, like 7, 8, and 9 back to back, and 10. Like that was like right at the heart of my Final Fantasy playing days in college. And
what games?
None of those had anything to do with each other.
Nothing.
Other than Sid and Chocobos and da-da-da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah. Well, there was some weird thing in the remake with 10, but I think that was just an Easter egg. But Anyway,
Oh, that's interesting.
yeah, it is crazy that 7, 8, 9, and 10, like all those for me are like nines or tens of a game.
Yeah.
Like these are classics.
Yeah. For a
And
long time, 7 was my favorite game of all time.
yeah,
It's since been passed, but it was for, you know, a decent chunk of my teens and early 20s.
yeah, 10 is probably my third favorite game of all time.
Yeah. 10 is great. 10 I didn't get as into because I never got into Blitzball. And
Right.
especially early, there's so much Blitzball. It's like I kind of tuned out a little bit, but it is still great. Like it's there, that's not really a knock on the game. It's just an element of the game I didn't like.
Yeah.
But
And you didn't need to play Blitzball. You only need to play it once, really, in the story mode.
right, yeah.
But
yeah. But still really good. So in addition to those 15 sequels, there have also been about 100 spin-offs. I went through and tried to count on Wikipedia, and I got distracted and lost count somewhere in the mid 90s. But I mean, that's everything from chocobo racing to Final Fantasy snowboarding. There was an FPS. There's like basically any game genre you can think of. There is a Final Fantasy version of it. Obviously, IGN has it at number 11 on their list of best games for the NES. Games Radar has it number 9 on their list. Nintendo Power has it at 19 on their list, and 49th best game of all time, which it's also Retro Gamer has it at number 93 on their all-time list. GameFAQs has it at 76, and Famitsu has it at 63. And earlier, I hummed the victory tune. That was composed by Nobuo Uematsu, who has composed music for all but one of the main series Final Fantasy games, and former and next week King of Console game Rad Racer was also a Nobuo Uematsu score.
Oh, nice. What do you know? What Final Fantasy game was it? Don't tell me if you do know.
I did know when I pulled that stat, but I don't remember offhand. So your guess is as good as mine.
Wonder if it was 13. Maybe 11.
Let's find out.
Let's say 13 or 11.
All right, he did 1, 2, 3. Final Fantasy Legend 2. The final. Okay, so yeah, Final Fantasy, Final Fantasy 2, Final Fantasy Legend, Final Fantasy 3, Final Fantasy Legend 2, Final Fantasy 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, Origins, Tactics Advance, 12, 14. He did not do 13.
Oh,
that's very impressive.
I figured. I for some reason I remember that. I was like, wait, they got somebody else for 13, which kind of explains why the music in that game I didn't think was that great.
That one was done by Masashi Hamauzo, who...
Granted, 13, I like it for what it is, but...
Yeah. He had worked with Uematsu on a couple of other projects. He also did 13 too. But yeah, 13, Dirge of Cerberus, Final Fantasy 7, he did that, but not the main Final Fantasy 7. He did some. Oh, I was gonna say he's credited for Super Smash Brothers, but there's that's because there's Final Fantasy characters in those.
Yeah, and his music is in the game.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, and then he also has a studio called Mono Music. But yeah, other than that, it's all Nobuo Uematsu. This game is all Uematsu. I just like to say Uematsu. I learned early on that, I learned that I wasn't paying attention because the game starts where you're talking to the king, and then you go out, you start on your mission, and there's like a village outside the castle that you can walk into, and then you're just like out in the world and fighting monsters. If you don't pay attention to the fact that there's a town there, and you don't stop off and buy armor and weapons, You don't last very long. I got TPK'd 12 minutes in because I forgot to. I didn't forget. I just didn't. I wasn't paying attention to the fact that there was a town there.
Yeah, this game, like many of the RPGs we play in this era, they don't tell you anything.
Mm-mm.
They really don't.
Nope.
They're just like, have fun. And I guess that's great for a role-playing game at the time, because you could honestly make your story. You could do whatever you want. You have 4 classes you could pick to main.
Mm-hmm.
You could be the warrior. You could be the magic user.
Yep.
Yeah, which one did you use? Did you?
I eventually learned that fighter is a little OP, so I was using fighter.
Fighter is the way to go. Yes.
Yeah. I kept a mage around for like healing spells, but for the most part, my main was always a fighter, because you get a good enough weapon early enough, and you can kind of roll for a while. I made a note that I never quite got the hang of using a mage, other than for like, saving on herbs or whatever the item is that you can use to replenish health. Just having somebody around to cast heal is very handy, but otherwise just go running in with a sword and chop them down.
Yeah. So overall, what'd you think? Like,
I really liked it.
Yeah.
But I do agree with what you said before, that it just kind of drops you in. And again, in 1990, there was probably the expectation that, maybe the instruction manual had a map, or that you would, have, a Nintendo Power subscription. And so you could get, hints and tricks from there. But there's not a whole lot of guidance about what you're supposed to be doing. And so there's a lot of at least for me early on, there was a lot of just kind of walking around like, okay, have I talked to you? Okay, I talked to you. You're not telling me anything. Have I talked to you? No. Okay. Well, that's not interesting at all. Do I need to go north, or what's the name of this town again? And it's very RPG-y. Like, you can tell it's definitely like inspired by like tabletop games.
This honestly, and it might not be. So I don't want to hear Dragon Warrior fans. I don't want people to attack me. But this is the RPG. Like, this is what I think started the RPG for me. Like, playing this, I was like, okay, this is where it all started. This is because my first RPG ever was Final Fantasy. I don't know if you had a different one, but
the first one I ever really got into was probably Final Fantasy VII, assuming we're not counting, we're counting the Zelda games as more adventure than RPG, in terms of building parties and using magic and stuff. Yeah, it was definitely the Final Fantasy series. I'm just not sure exactly which game in the series, but 7 was when I got really into it.
Yeah, so playing this game. So here's my take. So playing this game, I knew I was playing a legend. Like, it's Final Fantasy. But I'm not gonna lie, man, it was a little hard to get into.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I feel like because we played Dragon Warrior 3 and 4 in round 1, and those felt more kind of polished. Like, there was a little more direction, but they also had the advantage of coming after this.
Right, and it probably took a lot of things.
Yeah,
it probably took a lot of things from this. So this is why this is a hard game to really measure.
Yeah. I would 100% agree with that. Yeah. That's I do, and we'll get into it in a bit when we pick an actual winner, but I don't think it's going to be a hard choice about whether this advances or not. But I feel like in terms of legacy, yeah, this is absolutely top 10, top 15, of the era game. But in terms of enjoyable playing experience, it wouldn't crack my top 10. of the games I've played. That probably wouldn't be in my top 20.
Yeah.
There are games rated significantly lower than this that I would, rather be playing than.
But
Final
then again,
Fantasy.
though, if we played this when the game came out, I'm sure it would probably be in our favorites.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. If we were playing this when, you were 2 and I was 8, like, we would be coming from an entirely different place. But yeah, we have both the benefit and the curse of hindsight, looking at this now 31 years later. Just like it's fun, it's great, but we've just seen this formula done better over and over again since then, that this just kind of feels a little directionless.
Yeah, it's definitely outdated. So listeners, if you're watching, like, Final Fantasy is a classic, but I honestly suggest not to play this version of the game. There's a better port. There's a better way of playing. But for the bracket wise, and for like playing on the NES, I'm going to be honest. I did not have a lot of fun.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, I think it's just a little biased because it is the first Final Fantasy.
Right. I feel like
it's going to be interesting if it moves on to the next round.
Yeah.
How it deals with the next round.
Right. And I feel like this may just be my perception, but I kind of feel like most of the like hardcore Final Fantasy fans that I know didn't really, like, for a lot of them, like, their Final Fantasy fandom starts with 3, not with 1 or 2.
With 3, 6, or 7. Those are the ones you always hear.
Yeah. Yeah, and those are, unquestionably 3 all-time greats.
Right.
So that's it's a little unfair because we're comparing, what would then be a 16-bit game and then a PlayStation game to the NES game. But this is where it is on IGN's list because of that legacy that it left. But as its own standalone game, it's good. It's very good. But
so 3, we're also, I think you're talking about Final Fantasy 4 or 6. Actually, you're talking about 6.
Right, because 6 is 3.
Yes, in America.
Yes. Yeah.
So it's 6 and 7 that everyone talks about.
Yes.
But
it was 3 for us, but 6 or the other way around.
Yes.
Yeah.
Until it got released here. Now it's right. Now it's 6.
Right. Yes. Yeah. In the like re-releases subsequently, it's 6, but at the time it was 3. Yes. Yep. Yeah. Sorry, that was not at all clear to people that don't know the Final Fantasy chronology.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
It's like trying to explain the Star Wars timeline to somebody.
You're just like, what?
No, you do 4, 5, 6 first. And then the holiday special, and then 4, Wars, then the holiday special, then 5 and 6.
Oh man!
Don't do the holiday special.
I'll do it for laughs and giggles. It's a great time.
Unsubtitled Wookiee for 20 minutes gets rough.
First Boba Fett.
Yeah, okay? Skip ahead to the cartoon.
The cartoon was fun.
And if you want to see like Carrie Fisher coked out of her head singing A Christmas Carol to the tune of the Star Wars theme, like then the Star Wars holiday special is for you.
This is why, and we're going to go back to how far we went, but the reason why I like the holiday special so much is just think about the time. Right? This is before Empire or after? No, before Empire.
This was 78, I think. So it was the year after Star Wars came out.
Oh my God. Imagine us just like foaming from the mouth for more Star Wars. It's the worst thing ever, the holiday special, but at least you got more of it,
That's true. And it's also not anything like in whatever 2007 or I can't remember what year it came out. It would be like the year after Avatar came out if there was an Avatar holiday special. Like,
yeah,
you just don't, with all of the actors from the movie, like that's just not something that's done anymore. Like getting all of the stars of the biggest movie of all time
I mean,
on
now
network
it's kind of,
TV.
to be honest, it's kind of like the MCU. WandaVision feels like a holiday
Kinda.
special. If you think about it,
A
it really
little,
is.
yeah.
It's just way better.
Way better.
Yeah,
way better. Oh, I can't wait till tomorrow. That's
or tonight, man. I watched them like a crazy man at 3 a.m. So
that is true. You are a crazy man.
Yeah, but listen, I won't lie. I'm kind of hooked into Twitter, so I know as soon as I open my app, spoilers galore. So I gotta watch it before.
That happened to me this week. I even watched it Friday, but by like 9 a.m. Friday, I'd had the 2 big like cameo moments spoiled for me.
Exactly. So
no context for what it was, but it was like, oh, I would have been really excited to see that person if I didn't know they were going to be there.
Yep. All right, Pat, let's see how far we went.
Yep. Take it away, Rhino.
Who made it farther? Who made it farther?
All right. So, Ghosts and Goblins. I made it.
Ghosts and Goblins. Where'd you make it?
I made it just slightly past where I was last time, which is that building where you're climbing and there's like trolls above you dropping stuff on you.
Yeah.
So
you beat me last time because I only made it to last time. I kept getting bopped by a freaking firebrand in the first level.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So I made it through that, made it through the thing with the trolls, and then just on the other side of that building, there's a moving platform that I stepped onto. It was literally like below where my feet were. I stepped onto it and just fell to my death. So I don't know if it was like a false floor thing, like in Castlevania 2 or what. But yeah, and then I got a game over and had to start all the way over again. And again for an hour.
Well, man, same level, but I made it past that, and I got to the beginning of the cave. But I died as soon as I got the key. As soon as I got that key, so for the next level, I died instantly, and I had to start all over.
Well,
I did beat the level you were in, but man, honestly, I don't even want to know how many tries it took me. But dude, the cave, like as soon as you start that cave level, these bats fall from the ceiling, right?
Oh jeez.
And I'm like, how do you dodge this?
Yeah. Yeah, that's so much of the ways you die in this are really cheap. You know, like enemies will just appear. It's like, oh well, I guess I'm getting hit by that. It was really, really quite frustrating. So that does expand your lead. You have now made it farther in 42 games to my 36. So let's see about Final Fantasy, which is a hard one to judge because it's not a linear game. But I had my characters at level 4. I had beat the pirates, got their ship, and I had just talked to the witch who was looking for a crystal when time expired.
So I didn't do the pirates thing, but I definitely was trying to get that crystal.
Okay. So yeah, I can't remember what town it was, but there's one town that's like been overrun by pirates, and I went and you
Did
basically
you?
pick a fight with them, and then like there are 6 pirates, and you're having to fight all of them.
Right.
But I think I did that before I talked to the witch. Hold on. Let me see if I can find a walkthrough, and we can kind of compare based on that. That's probably the easiest way to do this.
I made it to this boss fight. Oh, that's what it was. I think those were the pirates. Were there like a whole bunch of like blue guys?
Yeah, I think so. They're in
Okay.
yeah,
Dude.
they.
So I think we're at this. We went to the same thing because
Yeah.
they didn't look like pirates, right?
No, the people in the town call them pirates. So.
Right.
And like the leader is like Bicky or something. I don't know.
I think you're right. Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, hey, another tie. That doesn't narrow the gap at all, but better than eating another loss, I guess.
Yeah. Because I was like, pirates? I never fought any pirates. But then I looked it up and it looks like they're just these like blue warriors. Had like blue armor and had swords.
Yeah. And there's like 6 of them all at once.
There's like, yep. And there's an ocean background.
And
I honestly, it was on me. I just feel like I wasn't really paying attention. Paying attention to the story, really.
well, that's just silly. Wow. They've used pirates a lot. In fact, I found a Final Fantasy wiki, and apparently they have just been in like all of them. Well, not all of them. 1, 2, 5, 7, 11, 12, 2.
They're in 7?
14, and a bunch of spin-offs.
Huh.
Although not referred to as pirates, Avalanche's symbol greatly resembles that of the Jolly Roger flag, traditionally associated with pirates. They're an eco-terrorist insurgent group. So, yeah, that's kind of a stretch, but...
Yeah.
Huh. All right. So, so the lead remains the same. We are about to pick a winner, although I don't think it's much of a secret as to what it's going to be. But I should point out that whichever game moves on, we'll be facing the winner between Blaster Master and Ninja Gaiden 2, The Dark Sword of Chaos, which is, I think, might be the very last second round matchup. I don't remember the schedule specifically, but it's late in this round. So Final Fantasy is going to have to stick around a while to wait. But yeah, if it makes it past that, it will have to face either Kirby's Adventure or the winner between Metroid and Rygar. So as great as the legacy of Final Fantasy is, I don't expect it to make it to the round of 16.
Yeah, I agree. Final Fantasy is definitely the pick.
Yeah.
But I don't. It's sad because I was really excited. This was the first time I was playing this game.
Yeah.
And like I said, it's what probably started all of this JRPG stuff.
Yeah.
But this one's just felt a little outdated.
Yeah.
But it was a better game than Ghost and Goblin.
Yes. Yeah, that much is definitely true. So it's a win, but it's not an enthusiastic win. And the online vote agreed with us. 100% of the people who voted on our Facebook and Twitter picked Final Fantasy as well. We did get a little bit of listener feedback. It is, of course, from Ryan O, who actually answered his own question from last time, where he was asking about if there was a game based on our first job, what would it be and what kind of game would it be? His would be a Brutal Legend styled game, but with an Elvis impersonator at a carnival. So Rhino's backstory becomes more and more twisted. I knew he was an Elvis impersonator, but I didn't know that was his first job and that he did it at a carnival.
Wow.
So
That's crazy.
Yeah. one of these weeks when we do the Freestyle Friday on our Twitch channel, I really want to get a Jackbox game going or something and have like Rhino and Medic Sloan and some of our regulars pop on, because I would just love to pick his brain and hear what happened to you, man.
What's your story?
Yeah, I know, like, we're from the same area and we have the same alma mater and we worked together briefly at Disney, but our paths, they didn't diverge. They converged somewhere along the way. We started from very different places. That was not at all my experience. But so if you want to experience, see what we're doing there?
Good job.
These games, you can check out our Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Kings of Consoles, where I'm trying to do every Monday playing 2 games from the tournament. So whatever 2 games are against each other. So this coming Monday, which is the 8th, I'm very excited. I will be playing Chippendale Rescue Rangers and Mike Tyson's Punch-Out.
That's a good week, man.
I am not looking forward to having to pick a winner between those two, because I will be honest, either one of those should have beaten Batman or Castlevania 2 or RC Pro-Am, all games that have advanced. But yeah, so that's going to be fun. So I'm doing that every Monday. Every Wednesday, we're doing Windy's Day. I'm playing an indie game. Yesterday, you would have seen me play Limbo, which was an interesting experience. You can watch the replay of that. And then every Friday is just kind of a freestyle Friday. We're do just kind of whatever. And I'm thinking tomorrow I'm going to bust out Alien Isolation for the first time, because I've heard good things and I haven't played it. And I got it for free on the Epic Games Store over the holidays and just haven't had a chance to play. So y'all are going to give me an excuse. You can see the entire bracket. As of today, you'll be able to see the results of the first 46 matches, because we don't show the new episode's result until the next new episode comes out. So next week, you'll be able to see Final Fantasy going over Ghosts and Goblins, but currently you can see Castlevania 3 having beaten, why am I blanking on this? What did we just play last week? Super C. Castlevania 3 beat Super C. So you can see that at challenge, challonge.com/Kings of Consoles. You can follow us on Twitter. We are at Kings of Consoles. I'm at Loopy Date.
And I'm at Ricky G. Oh my God.
N7.
Ricky G N7. I just threw a blank. Ricky G N7.
What is my Twitter handle?
I was like, what the?
You can also follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/Kings of Consoles. Shoot us an email, kingsofconsolespod@gmail.com. You can contribute financially if you want to buy us a cup of coffee. You can do that at ko-fi.com/Kings of Consoles. And of course, you can, rate, review, subscribe to the podcast. That way you will get next week's episode, where we will be playing another classic JRPG, the number 8 seed Dragon Warrior, as it takes on the number 57 seed and a game that Ricky beat in the first round, Rad Racer. So join us for that. Join us on any of our socials, or, come say hi during a Twitch stream, or shoot us an email. We're always happy to hear from you. Rhino, keep the good stuff coming. I just saw you had tweeted at us, and we're going to answer your new question on next week's episode. So Ricky, you have anything else you want to say to everybody before we hit the road and start playing Rad Racer and Dragon Warrior for next week?
No, man, just play old games.
Thanks for joining us, everybody. We'll see you next week.
Kings of Consoles is recorded in Nashville and Orlando and is produced and edited by me, Pat Dooley. Thanks to Captain Portal for our theme song, intro for a non-existent video game, which can be found at freemusicarchive.org. And the music and sound effects from this week's games can be found with a quick Google search. The opinions expressed in this and every episode are our own, and we are in no way sponsored by or affiliated with Nintendo. We're just big fans.